Cool. Sounds great. My name is Kashyap Vadapalli. I am the CMO and business head at Pepperfry. I've been with Pepperfry for about 8 years. I am one of the organizers of Clarion Call, which is the startup business contest that the IIM Calcutta Alumni Association is conducting. Obviously, as a part of the Clarion Call programs and events, uh, we are also conducting these master classes. There are about 5 or 6 master classes from very different organizations and very different industry leaders. And today we are going to hear from Abhishek Murthy from Freshworks, and he's going to talk to us about scaling a business from a revenue of a few $1 million to a few tens of $1 million and hundreds of millions of dollars. A little bit about Abhishek. Abhishek is currently the chief of staff at Freshworks. He's been with Freshworks for about 5 years. And he has built and scaled the mid-market sales team. He has launched and scaled products to significant milestones. And as chief of staff, works closely with the CRO and has contributed in driving revenues from 200 million levels to 300 plus million levels. He's also worked on solving business problems across the funnel, from marketing to customer advocacy. He comes with a background in consulting from the consulting industry and has been a representative of the South Australian government in India. So Abhishek is going to be sharing with us, his experience and knowledge and learnings from the Freshworks journey. I think it will be very valuable to all of us and interesting to listen to. Over to you, Abhishek. The way we will do this is you can take whatever amount of time, 45 minutes, 1 hour, to kind of share your journey, share your thoughts. And at the end of it, we will take questions. We are going to keep the time at 6:30. We'll be closing the session at 6:30. So if you take about 55 minutes to an hour to speak about it, then there'll be about 25 minutes or so for the questions. For the questions, I request all the attendees to kind of type in your questions in the chat. I will make a note of them and I will ask those questions to Abhishek and then he can answer it. So when you're sending your questions, I request you to kind of note them down as the session is going on. Hold on to those questions, and once I open it up, for the Q&A period, at that point type it into your chat so that I can track them a little bit more closely. So that's the format we'll use. Over to you, Abhishek. Look forward to an interesting session, and I hope all the attendees and the other panelists will interact and engage and make this successful. Abhishek, over to you.
Thanks, Kashyap. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm equally excited to be part of this, and I'm really excited to know that you're from Pepperfry as well, because that pretty much makes my home. Every nook and corner of the house is probably a purchase that I've made from the website, and honored to be here along with you. And first off, before I start the presentation, I hope everybody is safe in these tough times. Please maintain your best social distance and please ensure you're safe in this COVID times. I know Kashyap kind of set the agenda in terms of how I'm looking at this presentation. Let me now share the screen before we start. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, that's my team trying to do an illustration of me. I'm hoping I'm better in person, but like he said, I work as a chief of staff at Freshworks. I've been with Freshworks about 5 years, grew the mid-market team from 0 employees to about 70 in the first year, launched a product and took it to significant milestones in 2.5 years. And in the last 2 years, I've been excitedly in part of the journey of growing the company from 200 odd million to 350 plus odd. And that's why I'm here talking about how to scale businesses. Before we move forward, for a bunch of you who do not know what Freshworks is, we are an innovative customer engagement software. We have a suite of products which helps you acquire, close, and keep your customers for life. We work throughout your customer journey, right from your lead generation to your customer happiness, right? We have a suite of products. We call them Fresh Desk, Fresh Caller, Fresh Chat, Fresh Service, bunch of them, right? That's who we are. This is the interesting part of our journey, right? This is how our journey was while growing the company from $1 million to $100 million. And this is a super exciting journey because we always peg against some of the greatest companies globally, companies like Slack or Coupa or Shopify or ServiceNow or Twilio. Example for Shopify, for them to move from a $1 million to $100 million, probably took them a little over 7 years, and Coupa about 9 odd years. We were able to do it in about 5 years and 3 months, or a sub of 5.5 years, right? And it came with a lot of learning. Of course, the growth is exponentially higher once you grow the 1 to 10 and the 10 to 50 and the 50 to 100. So today I'm just going to concentrate on the $1 to $10 million journey because I'm aware that several of you are starting up, and I thought that'll be a lot relevant for everybody here. So this is the growth to an enterprise, the value by time. We are currently north of $300+ million with 11 offices and 12 products. But there is some method to this madness. And initially, for the first quick 10 slides, I'll talk about the method to the madness, and then I'll go into the detail of the masterclass of how we went about building this business. So this is our secret formula, right? The secret formula is pretty simple, straightforward, which is we picked a large market. We went with easy marketing solutions, which is you can acquire a customer a lot more simpler than what it is currently, search-driven, affordable, open pricing. We wanted to ensure that the customer touchpoints were a lot more easier. So we built products which are intuitive, easy to use, self-service driven, and there is easy trial, right? So when we built these products, the market was cluttered with products which had complicated solutions that need onboarding, solutions that need implementations. We wanted to give a very breathy, fresh outlook to the entire business. And so that's the engagement model we did. And one of the USPs that we had back in the day that we even are very fond of today is enthusiastic customer service. We make sure we're probably one of the only SaaS companies globally initially to offer 24/7, 365 customer support. We valued the customer engagement, and that paid us in the long run. This is the simple business formula that we went behind. Right? So how did we grow? Again, to break that down into one more level, we picked a large market, like I said. We picked a path to the 100 million, and I'll tell about that in a little bit. And we picked the path of least resistance, right? And then we played to our strengths. I'm just breaking that into 4 more pieces. So at that time, when we initially launched the company and when we were growing it from 1 million to the 100 million, a lot of SaaS businesses was built for large companies, right? The mid-market and enterprise companies. And SMB as a segment was never really worked onto. And we knew the potential of SMB. So everybody in the call, mostly everybody in the call, are all small and medium businesses, and all of them need tools as well. All small businesses need the same amount of tools a large enterprise needs, be it a CRM, be it a support desk, be it a chat, be it anything else. And we thought it was important for us to give a very fresh outlook to the SMB business, and we took that path. And eventually, we grew that path into the mid-market and enterprise business as well. But our initial growth to the $100 million prima facie came from the SMB business. We also picked a path to the 100 million. So what are these different animals that you see here, right from an elephant to a bee? These are size of the businesses, right? Now, if you look at one employee businesses, I'm just calling it a bee here, there are probably a million of them, but there is friction on buying, there is higher amount of them leaving you and going. Of course, we have the elephants of the world as well. Elephants of the world are companies like a Google or an Adobe or a Microsoft, which are really large, which is hard to crack as well. So when we speak about the SMB and the mid-market business that we grew to the 100 million, we picked the 2 that is circled here, right? The rabbit and the deer. And what I'm talking about here is they're not so small. The SMB is there. We do not pick it really small. There are about 25 employee companies or 50, so that we know there is probably a working business model and we will sustain and grow. The deers are the one which have the maturity to grow into a large enterprise as well. So these are the segments that we worked on initially. The path of least resistance was pretty simple. We wanted to innovate in the market. We wanted to give a fresh outlook to the market. So we ensured right from our UI to our website to everything kind of resonated to what we were building as a product, a company. We made sure there was no onboarding. We made sure several things were self-service. We gave a new outlook to it, and we believe that that's also something that the SMB business will appreciate. And we play to our strengths. Our strength was we were based in India, we were selling globally. Building an inside sales team in India and selling globally has its own great cost arbitrage, right? You hire so many people and then you're able to scale it globally, then your net throughput efficiency of your sales and marketing team is a lot more better. And that was a strength that we had. We built on our strength. So let's now quickly just look at the evolution, right? A quick chart of NASDAQ here. This can be the same thing for Sensex or Nifty as well, from an Indian context. If you look at it, there are several undulations through the years, right? Right from the 1980s to the 2020. There's so many ups and downs. In the year 2000, when the big fall happened in the Y2K and the year of, WTC and everything, we thought the fall was really big. But now looking at it 18 years or 20 years before, it was not so much, right? The market has still gone 3x and 4x, or a lot more than that, right? Now, we thought the 2008 was a big fall as well, but if you look at it from a long-term picture, that again is not very significant. But the point that I'm trying to make here is nothing is really linear through the curve. Everything has those undulations, and I'm going to talk about those undulations today. I'm talking about these undulations as inflection points for your sales and marketing team, and what you can do to ensure that you can grow your business. Of course, I'm going to skip these slides. I've already spoken about it a little bit. This is our journey in terms of number of customers we had, the kind of different products that we launched. This is our GTM motion through the years. Initially, we only build the inbound SMB engine, then we build the outbound engine, then we build the SMB mid-market engine, and so on, right? This is probably very contextual for the SaaS players here. I'm not too sure how many SaaS companies are there in this call, but this is very particular for that. So what should we focus on today? Am I going too fast? I would love to pause for a minute and probably hear from you if I'm going too fast, if I'm making sure.
I think this is good.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So what should we focus on today? Like I said, I'm going to be focusing on the inflection points, those undulations that we saw over the years. Now, there are those undulations in your business as well when you're building your revenues and you're building your marketing. And that's something that I'm going to focus on in the $1 to $10 million journey. I would love to make sure this presentation is a lot more faster than what I think or what Kashyap said, and would love to take on a lot of Q&A from all of you to see if I can help solve a bunch of your problems. But one people can believe, right? And this is
Hello. Hi, guys. I think the speaker has lost his internet connection. We can expect him back. I'll get a message him and also get you guys updated.
Hello?
Hi, Abhishek.
Sorry, I got booted out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear and see you now.
Okay. Sorry, I think it was just bad internet for a while. Let me share the screen again. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, screen is visible.
Perfect. So let's focus on the $1 to $10 million journey, and we will double down on what really happened there and what we did. Right. So how did our teams evolve in the $1 to $10 million journey? So at every step, we had a new norm. And at every step, this is both for products that we built internally and for company as a whole, right? Now, in these inflection points, there was always a new norm. And I'm going to talk about what we did in all of these stages and how did that help us in the business. So the first step, like many of you know, is product market fit validation, right? Now you build a product, you want the market to come and verify that that's something the market wants. So I'll give you an example, a personal example. So we built Fresh Chat as a product. I used to head marketing, demand, and product marketing and a bunch of stuff there. And the initial product market fit validation was to go behind fresh test customers and then pitch Fresh Chat to them and figure out if chat was an important tool for them to use. You know, it was an inflection point for us to say, hey, you know what? They are looking at using chat for support. They are looking at using chat for demand generation through the website. And will our existing customers go and use us? You know, that was the product market fit validation for us. Now, what happens there? So generally on the product market fit validation, the founders or the founding team will be the ones who will be selling, right? All your demand generation, all your sales, everything will be done by the founding team. In Fresh Chat's case, I was doing it, and a bunch of others who were involved in building Fresh Chat was doing it. At Freshworks as well, Girish and all the other co-founders were initially selling into customers, right? And I think that's exactly something that you would have to follow for success. Why is that important? Is also because you get the right signals back from the customers so that you can go and improve your product, you can improve your sales and marketing use cases, you can improve your messaging, you can do so many things. And at the product market fit validation, because founders are the one who are building the product, I think it is imperative that they sell as well. They are closest to the problem and they have thought through the solution. And that's the first very step. And initially, validation through references and contacts. So, you know, for marketers in this call, you know, we all know about the laws of 6 degrees of separation and 3 degrees of influence and all of that. It just means that the world is a lot connected. You probably go behind your own contacts, your own network, initially to figure out, is there validation? Is there a need? And that's the first very step in that $1 to $10 million journey. Now I'll go one more step deeper into looking at, you know, what are the activities that happen at this stage? What is that? What are the activities? What does success look like? And what does exit criteria look like, right? The activities at the first step in the $10 million in the product market fit is you pitch to your network, you onboard a bunch of beta customers. It doesn't matter if you're Saas or not, right? And you validate your value proposition. You go and pitch your story to them and then see how that response is. You also build a closed loop network at this stage where you get inputs back from get input backs from your beta customers, feed them into your product team, feed them into your customer support team, feed them into your own sales team, everything else to understand how does the market look at everything that you're doing. I think this is a very, very important stage because this sets the foundation for the next journey forward. I'm not going to go into every little bit detail of this on what success looks like and what exit criteria. We'll be more than glad to share this presentation after the call for all of you to look into if need be. Okay. Again, what happens here, just to give one more double down is, you know, you have to win those logos. You have to win your customers. You have to make sure your product is validated, it's appreciated, etc. That's what the first stage looks like. So what's the second stage? The second stage is you taste your first success. You've built a great product. You've built a bunch of people who are extremely important for your business's success. Now you go out and start pitching your product. Once you start tasting your first success, the founding team probably is selling, but you want somebody, a professional, to help you build marketing. Or if you're a marketer, you probably build a sales team, right? So why is this important? Because you want complementing skill sets from outside. A founding team is the selling team here because he or she is the best one to sell because they know the problem and the solution. But for developing the leads, be it cold calling by an SDR or be it demand generation through digital marketing or whatever, it's worthwhile to bring in a professional. That's probably one of the first few GTM hires that you would do. Founder remains the sales rep, but gets a hand to help in the form of marketing or SDR. And this is important. Once you have those first few logos, once you have those product market fit, you want to see if you can catapult your growth. And depending on the business, you decide if you want to hire a sales rep or do you want to hire a marketing rep or an SDR, of course. Right? The activities that you probably look at here is the SDR or the marketing team helps in building the MQL pipeline. The top of the funnel is taken care of. The founder pitches the product, validates the product, converts them, builds business in this stage. There is also a strong ICP list that goes on month. Now, ICP here, to sound a little less jargonish, is your ideal customer profile, right? Now, you need to know who your customers are. Even before going and selling to them, you need to know what the universe is like. So around this stage is where you build your pool, your TAM of who you can go behind. The channels to work on, you probably have a set of people that you want to go behind, and you get that validation at this step. Then comes the third inflection point. The third inflection point is where the founder continues to sell, but he's now getting promoted as a sales leader. He sees that after she is hiring the demand generation person, a marketing or an SDR, he or she also needs to see that his time alone is not enough to close those businesses. So at this inflection point is where you go outside and start hiring your sales rep. Right? Now, what happens at this stage? There is a founding team. There is a digital marketing reps. There are digital marketing reps who are helping in demand generation of the top funnel. There are AEs and SEs who are helping you close those businesses. And at this stage is where a founder first gets promoted as a leader. A founder sees himself as a people leader, having a bunch of SDRs, a bunch of AEs, a bunch of marketers coming and reporting to him or her, right? This is the first time, and this is the inflection point. And this inflection point can only happen if the founder has mastered how to sell. He or she should be able to teach the other AEs that they are hiring on how to sell, what to say, when to say, etc. Which means the founder has an entire visibility of how the pipeline comes in and goes out, right? He or she also becomes a leader here because he's taking in the functional depth that they've hired from a marketer, but he gives his input on the direction of the company, right? And this is the first time a founder probably becomes a leader. So what are the activities that happen at this stage? Of course, there is a pipeline that's built by the marketers. The AEs develop and build and close the pipeline. The founder is a team leader. He's juggling with everybody here. He's both a player and a coach. This is again an important point, right? Which is you don't let go of your Lego blocks unless you make all the other AEs as good as you, right? Which means your AE should perform from a rep productivity level. The AE should perform as good as you before you move on to being just a coach. So till the time they become as good as you, you're both a player and a coach. This is what, again, that happens at this stage. Once this goes on that manner where you're a player and a coach, you have a bunch of marketers and AEs, what happens next is the next inflection point. The next inflection point happens where all your AEs are as good as you.
every AE is selling as good as you. So what happens then? Which means you need to start focusing on something that's a lot more important for you, which means if you're not a sales rep, or if you're not a sales leader by history, by legacy, then it's important that you start hiring somebody from the market who can come on to be your sales leader, sales or marketing leader, right? Or a GTM leader, whatever it is. Because you want to build the foundation and the team and the structure and everything else by a professional. You've sold initially for product market fit. You have then increased the throughput efficiency by hiring marketing or SDR. You hired a bunch of AEs, you've made them as good as you. Then it's time to go to the next step, where you need to bring in a sales leader who can be better than a sales leader that you are, who's been there, done that on how to grow teams or how to grow businesses, etc. This, in my opinion, is the point of rapid growth. This is when the startup really matures to become a successful startup. Till then, it's a bunch of hustling exercises, right? A hustling exercises by the founder, the marketer, the AEs, everybody else. When you start hiring your leaders, be it marketing or sales or wherever, and that's the point of inflection of rapid growth. What happens here? There is a new leadership in the sales team. Process, rhythm, and attainment is strengthened. Now here a professional comes up, be it a manager or a director, VP, it doesn't matter, right? A person comes into the team, he redefines the sales process. While coming in from the market, knowing how to do what to do, coming with the background of growing the $1 to $10 million business or running sales team, he or she comes in and builds the business, builds the team, and connects the marketing and the sales team together for a common vision and common goal. There is focused team meeting. Probably when the founder is running the team meeting, it's only about what's happening at an account level. It was never about how should the team grow to, or what are the metrics we should follow and everything else, right? So this is the time where the founder becomes a leader, a thought leader in looking at how the business should be in the quarters to come. How should funding be in the quarters to come? Or where should business be 3 years from now? Something like that, or 2 quarters from now, where the here and now will be managed by the new leader. The founder at this stage, if I should break it down into smaller process, until this inflection point, till the time you hire your leader, the founder's time is going on selling, right? Be it marketing or selling. From this stage, the founder is just going to start focusing on hiring, right? Hiring and fundraise and all that, because you've had product market fit, you have a bunch of logos, you have businesses appreciating you, you have a set rhythm at least to grow at the current cadence that there is. And this is kind of the point where the founder focuses on hiring the first 50 employees or 100 in the company so that the foundation is set for larger growth. The inflection point that like I said. Now let's zoom in on once the sales leader is hired, what would he or she do? I'm going to talk about a bunch of things that we did. Some of it I've been a witness and a member to. This might not be the same for all businesses, but I will talk about different things the sales leader did or a business leader did, which kind of influenced the success. Hiring right. I think this is extremely underappreciated in the market. We talk a lot about strategies, marketing, sales, but somehow hiring right is the biggest mantra, in my opinion, for a success of a startup or any company, right? It's critical to hire your right team right. Somebody who stays with you long, somebody who appreciates the vision that you built for the company, somebody who believes in your product, somebody who's got the right foundation for themselves, right? Not from a skill set point of view, but from a learning point of view. Even if it is a fresher, it's important that we hire right. In the case of our sales team, the VP of sales interviewed everybody that we hired, even until the team was 200 members in the sales team alone, right? Now that's the importance of that we gave for hiring, and that kind of helped us. Why is hiring right important? For sales ramp is important, right? What I mean by sales ramp for non-GTM folks in the call. So once you hire a rep, you need their performance in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, etc. A ramp is the time where they start performing at the ideal level. The ideal level can be $100 a month or $1,000 a month, whatever it is, depending on the business that you are. So if you're hiring right, the time it takes for them to get the business that they have to will be shorter. They'll start performing in the third month instead of 6 months if you're hiring wrong, as an example, right? And that's imperative that we hire right. The second important thing that we kind of did in the $1 to $10 million journey after we got a sales leader is we always started with the support team. Now, what I mean by this is, see, at this stage, you already have a bunch of support tickets coming your way. You know what your customers are complaining about. You know what your, you know who is your ICP. You know how their life is. For you to understand your product, your pitching, the problems customer face, and your ICPs, the easiest thing is to start with the support team. If the sales team starts with the support team and start answering a bunch of support tickets, starts answering a bunch of chats and all that, they get to understand the product, the ICPs, and pitching very better. And from there, they would also have the confidence of what works well in the product and what doesn't. So it's good to start with the support team. So spend on the brand. Even when we were really young, we spent about 10% of our digital marketing budgets on brand. We did display ads, YouTube ads. You know, we did a bunch of brand hacks, even back in the day, even when we were not known to anybody in the world, right? And somehow it just pays off in time. And don't waste an opportunity when you have somebody ranting about you. This is an example, right? Somebody, this was back in the day, maybe 2011. Yeah. Somebody was ranting about us, saying we are a bunch of Indian cowboys and we are a rip-off and all that. We went ahead and said, hey, you should try our product. You can't just talk about it and without trying us, etc., etc. And our CEO, Girish, went ahead and replied to them back in the day, right? This was 2011. And this gave us a lot of attention. We had a bunch of things that the Zendesk CEO said as well back in the day. And we didn't miss out on this opportunity. And it kind of helped us build the brand early on. So the other thing that's kind of something that we did in the $1 to $10 million journey after we got the leader is we simplified the stages. Many times we use CRM tools or even Excel files where we just go with what's just available in the CRM, right? We say open stage, lead stage, mature stage, conversation, verbal agreement, a bunch of stuff, right? And I think it is in the earlier years, you just want to understand what works and what doesn't. So if you have a lot of stages in your sales funnel, your funnel will look very magnificent all the time, but you will not have businesses coming in. And you will not be also able to have feedback loops back to your sales and marketing team of what's working and what's not. So crystallize your sales funnels in the initial years. We had just 2 stages, demo and close one. Depending on the business and depending on where you are, maybe you can have them, but keep it as simple as possible, because that helps for a sales leader and for a founder to understand what works and what doesn't. So the 5th thing that we kind of did initially after we hired a sales leader is we built the V1 of revenue operations. We didn't call it revenue operations. We probably hired a bunch of smart people from IAM or ISB. And we said, hey, you know what? Why don't you help us report numbers? Tell us what's working and what's not. Guide us in terms of where you think we should work towards and all that. And we kept this team outside of the sales leader, right? Because it's important that we have an outside view of how the team is performing. Because the sales team, most times than not, will come and say, hey, you know what, we are performing the best efficiency. Marketing is not giving me enough leads and a bunch of stuff like that, right? So it's imperative that the revenue operations team is outside of the sales team so that they can present numbers without any bias there. And this is something that paid off drastically for us. So in fact, to double down and give you an example of how this paid off, initially in our earlier years, in our formative years, while we were selling, Freshdesk. Freshdesk was the only product that we had back in the day. We realized that the product Freshdesk was used for a bunch of IT related use cases as well, right? They were using Freshdesk. A bunch of our customers were using Freshdesk for their IT help desk solutions. And we said, hey, looks like there is a market for this. Looks like they're using our product for a newer use case. Shall we go ahead and build a new product called Fresh Service? Will this start paying us? We were able to arrive at this only because we had an ops team, a rev ops team outside, which was able to look into not just business, but into use cases and drivers in direction. This is the V1 of a strategy team or a rev ops team or whatever you call it. But having that outside in view is always helpful here. I'm not too sure if I'm going really fast or slow. I'll probably look at the chat right now to see if I'm going at the okay speed. I'll probably wait for 1 or 2. Okay, got that. Thank you. So the other important thing in the initial stages after you hire a sales leader is we need to improve on the funnel. And one of the things to improve funnel is to enrich your leads better. How do you enrich leads, right? So to talk about our history, people came to our website, signed up for our product, they liked, they engaged in our product, a sales team was getting in touch. But there were so many signups where we didn't have knowledge of who they are. Of course, today you have tools like Clearbit and a bunch of them, which will give you information of every sign up, give them their social profile and everything else. But back in the day, I don't think there was Clearbit and everything else. So we built an MRE team, a market research team. The market research team will quickly go and search. Imagine I signed up using abhishek.murthy@freshworks.com. They'll quickly go and find out who I am, where I am, what's my role, everything else, and fill it into the CRM. It's probably a very rudimentary way looking at it today, but we still continue to have that team, and the team has been doing some phenomenal jobs. But of course, there are tools today which will solve that problem. But this was important for us because there were several leads that were not tracked and touched and engaged and converted. We just needed to improve the efficiency. And improving the efficiency is not just throwing dollar money in marketing, right? We needed to do something to ensure existing signups were well enriched. So this is something that we did. Stop every activity that does not sell. So there's, if I should put this in the easiest tone, many of us are driven by activities than outcome, right? What I mean by this is we might build teams, we might have an idea, and we might want to concentrate on that and keep growing without taking the mangoes out, right? Now, so it is important for you to always look back and then see what's not working and stop that. We did something like that. So we had an outbound SDR team back in the day that we set up, and we tried setting it up and running it with scale, but we realized that it's not working. And so we stopped doing it. So as founders, it's also important for you to stop. It might be a great idea. It might be innovative, creative. It might be exciting, but if it does not give you revenues, stop it, right? Growth is a great motivator, and growth can only happen if you do things that scale or things that give you revenue, right? So the other thing about marketing lead efficiency, I initially spoke about how we can look at, the MRE team, but there is another thing that we implemented back in the day, which is we wanted to score our leads based on who had the higher propensity to convert and who did not, because we wanted to also excite the sales team on touching those higher propensity faster, and we wanted to use the sales team's efficiency as well. If somebody was signing up using xxxyy@gmail.com, and you're not going to convert it, right? We didn't want the sales team to waste time on emailing and calling them. So we built the efficiency model of building in, inside the company, we build ML capabilities where we could score leads and tell the sales folks what works and what doesn't. Right? So so another thing that we did in this journey is we started realizing that how do we improve sales efficiency? And sales efficiency is a mix of how to use their time and who is better at doing something else. So initially it was just an AE selling, and we built the pre-sales mix into it. A product consultant who had stronger depth of the product, who could come in and talk about this, come in and talk about the product and convert them, while the AE concentrates on getting the customer, converting, negotiating, etc. There is a certain pre-sales and a sales mix that we have figured out which works very well, and we continue to do something like that. From an efficiency point of view, we also, again, this is all thanks to the V1 of the RevOps, right? We also figured out what is the best number of leads that's important so that the AE's efficiency is there, both from revenue and time perspective. And we realized that it's about 120 leads today, but initially it was about 1,000 leads and 500 leads, right? Maybe looking back, maybe if we had hired 20 more AEs back in the day, we would have been double the revenue then, right? I just don't know. But so think about efficiency in the sales team also at some point of time. We did that, and that's what I'm calling out. And we made sure there were multiple owners for a single problem, so that there was no problem that was not addressed, right? So to give you an example, the adoption problem, we're a SaaS company, so which means our product needs to be adopted. People, customers and prospects use our product. So we gave that ownership to product marketing team. We gave that ownership to sales team, sometime even the support team. So which means all of them were working on one single goal. The metrics were different, but they were all trying to solve the same problem. And one of them or the other was solving it differently. It was not a very scalable model, but it was a very, very efficient model. Right? And again, another very, very important aspect, and I'm sure Kashyap will kind of back me in this, we just want everybody in the company to talk the same language. Whether it's a marketer or a sales or an SDR or a customer success, you want all of them to say the same things. The meaning of what a lead is, an MQL is, SQL, quota, R2. You just need everybody to talk the same language. And it's just important that you legitimize that as a founder and a leader of what is what. And that kind of enables, otherwise sometimes, the marketer will come and say, I've given you MQLs, but the MQL to SQL conversion will be really bad because a bunch of those MQLs can be bad leads, right? So you just need to, it's a worthy deal to spend some time on documenting what an ideal MQL looks like and different stages looks like, so that everybody talks the same language. The last one, which is kind of useful, is probably, again, somewhat relevant to SaaS, but I'm sure even in e-commerce and other businesses, it is a lot relevant, which is you just need to encourage your customers to give you feedback, right? And encourage them to write feedback. See, for a SaaS company, you probably want reviews in G2 Crowd and Captra and places like that. Maybe for an e-commerce company, maybe it's Mouthshut or Google reviews or something like that, right? But it's just important that you create that positive bias about your product early on. If somebody has a great NPS score or a CSAT score in your support portal, you should somehow enable them to say right things about you as a business. And eventually that will start being a large lead generation engine as well for you, if you're able to track the source of it. Right? And at the $10-odd million, like I said, is when we launched the second product called Freshservice, because a bunch of our Freshdesk customers were using for internal teams. So which means it was important that we address their problems differently. We launched a new product and scaled our business, right? So there's a quick summary. We hired right, we started with support, we built the RevOps team early on, we built simplified sales stages, we focused on different touch point by improving the touch point, call it with an MRE team or with scoring. We launched a product based on customer feedback because that was great input for the product, and the market was asking us to launch a new product, and it would be rudimentary if we did not, so we did that. And we formed layers on our sales org. We just built the leader, a team leader, reps, everybody, so that there is redundancy in your system. Anybody leaving at any time is not going to affect your sales org largely. And we built that with scale. So what happened after the $10 million journey? We blitzscaled, right? We had two engines, the SMB and the mid-market engine, SMB was focused on smaller revenues, smaller sized companies, user-centric journeys, etc., while the mid-market was outbound driven, highly relationship driven, and high ARPA, right? So we just operated the twin engine parallelly and grew our business to multiple milestones over the years. So before I conclude this and probably open the floor for questions, I thought I'll have some closing thoughts on managing businesses during COVID times. Outside of Freshworks, I think I've also had the opportunity to help a bunch of startups in India and overseas to help them reach new levels. And I probably have context over what might be the itching thing for even smaller teams today. I think empathy is the true currency during all times, especially now. One closing thought that I would probably have is show that empathy back to your employees, show that empathy back to your customers, show that empathy to your investors or anybody that you're in touch with every day, right? Because not just about COVID, I think there's just a lot of pressure, just being at home, solving problems. These are unforecasted times. And if you have the right empathy, I'm of the belief that the right people will continue to stick with you, the right customers will continue to stick with you as well. So of course, I'm assuming all of you would have received an email from the team, but if not, we have something called Freshworks for Startups, where if you're a startup, we don't want you to be spending money at all in buying your products. So we want to help the new age startups. So our way of giving it back to the society is giving access to all our products to startups so that they don't worry about tools and efficiencies. They just focus on what they do best, building products and scaling them. Once again, thank you for this lovely time. I think I've personally enjoyed the monologue that I've had in the last 50 odd minutes. I'll probably have Kashyap take the floor on the next.
Sure. Abhishek, I think that was, very useful, insightful. I think a very simple, straightforward, I felt, easy to understand breakdown of your journey in terms of different stages, what constitutes success, what are the critical factors at each stage. I think opened my mind a lot. I've always been in the whole B2C world, so the B2B thing was new, but I think it was a very, very good introduction. So that's great. I thought I'll kind of open it up for questions to all the attendees. Please put in your questions in the chat box, and I will kind of ask Abhishek those questions. There are a couple of questions that had already come in earlier through the chat. So let me go ahead and ask them. So one of the things that an early question was talking about what kind of customer support did you provide to your early customers? Was it just calls, or was it chats, or was it both? And how do you think about customer support in general once there is a product that you manage to sell to a customer and it's installed or integrated with them? Then how does the support work?
Got it. See, I think context is important here, right? So back in the day, great support was given to higher paying customers, right? If you look at a bunch of our competition, without naming them, they were giving support based on which plan somebody subscribed to, or what kind of MRR or ARR that a customer was giving, right? It was dependent on the size of the company or the paid plan, right? So we did not differentiate the customers in any way. We treated this free customer and the topmost paying customer the same way from a support angle. If I have to go one more step deeper, we did not differentiate the channel of customers, the channel of communication. We wanted to be where the customers were. See, one advantage of building a company in India and selling globally is the arbitrage, and you can have access to so many more people than what you can afford in the US, as an example. So, which means we had people 24/7, 365 available on calls, emails, chat, in every channel that the customer required us. So the differentiation that we had from our competition was we were treating even our free customers the same way. We were accessible at all times in all channels, and that kind of helped us a lot, both from assurance that we have the right DNA to build a support tool back in the day.
Okay. So that's great. So what you're saying is that because of the arbitrage available, you used all the channels and provided a high level of service to all kinds of customers, whether they were, very high paying, or even if they were, customers who were, let's say, at an entry level in terms of providing revenue.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
see, the arbitrage is the internal way of saying it, right? The arbitrage is the prima facie number crunching way of saying it. But in reality, what we wanted to do is we just wanted to delight customers. See, early on, if you're not able to delight your customers, no matter what stage you are in, even today, unless you delight your customers, it's just happy to keep them or to get new customers, right? So our DNA was to delight our customers, and that came with one of the channels was just support, right? And that's why we hired and scaled probably a lot.
Okay. Cool. So there's another question here which basically talks about what was the ASP and the ARPU, initially when the sales head got hired. So I guess the question is really, at what revenue stage do you kind of go out and build a sales team, especially the more expensive resources like sales leaders and sales heads? At what stage do you kind of and maybe how does it relate back to the revenue that you're making, either in terms of customer, average revenue per customer, or even at an overall level?
Got it. See, there is no right answer for this. I forgot the name of the person who said this. I'm trying to see that. For some reason, I'm not able to. Got it. See, there is no right and wrong answer for what should be the ARPU for the company before you hire a sales head. That's because of two reasons, right? Not all businesses are the same. So we were initially in the SMB business, and our ARPU efficiency was very, very different back in the day compared to what it is today. So it depends on your business cycle. So if your business has low ARPU, but high amount of top of the funnel, you go ahead and hire a sales rep, right? Or if you're in the enterprise business and your ARPU is exceedingly high, but your lead generation is very poor, your top of the funnel is really poor, you still go ahead and hire the VP of business, right? So there is no right and wrong answer here. That is probably very subjective to the business that you're dealing with. We probably hired sub of about $4 or $5 million.
Understood. So that question was from Shavik Sarkar, is what I thought, from Connect. The next question is from Sujit Singh. He says, how is B2B enterprise sales different from B2B SME sales for SaaS companies? Do you need to provide SDK to enterprises?
See, how is B2B enterprise sales very different from SMB? It is different because your touch points and your engagements are different, right? So in the SMB side of the business, you want a certain amount of your business to be self-service, certain amount of the business to be low touch, and certain amount to be high touch. The high touch in SMB happens probably in customer success, where you are in touch with them so that they continue to stay with you longer period of time. In the larger enterprise B2B sales, B2B SaaS business, you have high touch even before selling, right? Because there is layers of hierarchy and sign-offs that happen. So which means you're talking to your topmost person in the company, but you also need to engage with the users. You need to see the trial usage. There's so many things to be thought about. The difference in sales and marketing for an SMB and the mid-market or the enterprise is the way touch point happens. Enterprise business is high touch. High touch means you need to build businesses, you need to build relationships, you need to build referenceable customers, you need to build logos, so many more things. In the SMB side of the business is the velocity business. The velocity business by itself comes with low touch. So these are the two different ways I probably think about SMB and mid-market or enterprise. Do you need to provide SDKs to enterprises? Again, depends on your business, right? It depends on what you're trying to solve, what use cases you're building and all that.
even if you're building a product, a SaaS product, and you want it to work with a bunch of other products, the question of should it be a native integration or whatever else, it's all depending on your use cases and your business. Maybe if you tell me what you do, I might be able to answer, but there is no one size fit all there.
One of the questions that I was thinking about was that can digital marketing be a differentiator? I mean, given that, when you're speaking to enterprises or even to SMBs, they're large ticket sizes, deep engagements, you need to maybe customize the product. There'll be some degree of, integration with their tools, etc. So obviously the closure of the cycle is going to be very, very high touch, very, very face to face. But I'm just wondering if digital marketing per se can provide, an edge in terms of how you reach out to customers or how you build your brand, and can it drive more quality leads versus traditional sales channels like events and conferences and so on. And that's one question that's playing in my head. The other questions playing in my head is, does expertise, in the sense, white papers, industry best practice sharing, do those kind of things make a difference? I mean, how important is it to be perceived as like a thought leader, somebody who's coming up with the cutting edge innovative solutions in the segment, versus somebody who's just efficient and cost effective and just has the minimum viable product, but it's suitable for me? So how do you decide where to pitch yourself? Is it different for larger enterprises, for smaller enterprises?
Sure. See, from the B2B side of the business, there are two ways marketing happens, right? First off, there is no world without digital marketing, right? And I've been a marketer all my life, and I'm a huge believer that, let's break this problem down into simpler facets, right? So I spend about 10 to 15 hours every day on working, and I use probably 2 hours every day on emails, 2 hours every day on LinkedIn and other social media. I spend about an hour or two on Zoom. I spend an hour or two on my phone. I probably browse a bunch of things, right? So which means if I'm the ICP, if chief of staff at a SaaS company is your ICP, or a GTM leader is your ICP, my time is split by several channels. Now, if you use only one channel, which is just calling, or if you just use one channel, which is display ads on Google, you're only going to cover one portion of his 10-hour work time, right? Of my 10-hour work time. So marketing is a very integrated approach to acquire customers. So I'm of the belief that you need an integrated marketing approach where you kind of go abysmal on every side of the business so that you're in touch with him or her from all aspects of where that person can be, that ICP can be. First off, I'm just setting that layer. See, the difference between the SMB and the mid-market, or the SMB and the enterprise business from a marketing side is leads coming from a single touch, or is leads coming from multiple touches? I think that's the answer. So example, in Kashyap's business, I've been a Pepperfry customer for a while right now. Now what happens here, I'm already in their databases. So which means that they need to retarget me differently. Whenever I'm searching for a specific thing, they probably on Instagram, they retarget me on multiple other websites and all that, right? Even from a first-time customer, they're showing several ways. When I'm searching for a example, I'm right now looking at buying a dhari as an example, which means dhari ads come to me. But after the dhari ad comes to me and I purchase that, then the intelligence system that Kashyap probably has will probably say, hey, looks like this guy from Chennai who's picked up a dhari is more likely to buy this lampshade, right? And why don't we start pitching that? Thereby decreasing the CAC for Kashyap and his team as well, right? So which is multiple touch. Of course, he has multiple products. Not all of us have the wherewithal to have so many products like Kashyap. In the B2B side of the business, you probably have only one or few products. So the answer is, for the SMB, it's probably one touch or two touch. The one touch is probably just digital ads and a bunch of other things online. For mid-market, it is multi-touch, right? What I mean by multi-touch is, does white paper and ebook by itself work? No. I probably don't know if it will directly convert into leads and business directly, but it's a good confirmation that
you can feed that ICP with something new. Imagine this flow, right? Somebody reads a white paper, which means white paper on how to do great customer support. It's a good validation that person has hunger on doing customer support better. So what can I feed with on ads again better too? Should we call him for a webinar? Should we call him for a roundtable? Should we call him for an event? Or should we have them somewhere else, right? That's your second touch. The third touch is maybe they are good enough to be pruned for an SDR at this stage. Maybe the SDR can start talking to them at this stage so that we can convert them. Or if SDR is not working, run a bunch of more digital ads. So that's the difference probably with SMB marketing and the mid-market. There's no one thing that works. It's a combination of things that works. Did I answer your question, Kashyap?
Yeah, no, I understood. So obviously, for larger enterprises, you would use many more channels. It is multi-touch, and before the person enters kind of your conversion part of your funnel, where the SDR kind of starts interacting with the person, and maybe even some of your delivery teams, if that's the right term, starts interacting with those people. You need to have multi-touch engagements with them for the larger organizations. For smaller organizations, it's a little bit simpler. So I know I'm oversimplifying all the things that you said, but I think I got a clear picture from what you explained. There are a couple of other questions that have come up here in the chat box. One more from Sujit, which says, how much gross margin should a SaaS startup try to achieve in a 1 to 2 years of operation? As a founder, how much should I focus on gross margin? Okay, multiple questions really. What's the key metric which a founder of a B2B SaaS startup should always keep in mind?
That's a lot of things to focus on day one. You don't worry so much of. I'm assuming you are raising capital. I come from that model of the world, so I'm probably going to talk from that angle instead of bootstrap. See, you probably don't worry so much of gross margins in the first few years of business, right? Any which ways, the whole point of running a SaaS business is it has higher gross margins. Sometimes the gross margins are as high as 80-85%, right? So you don't worry so much about your gross margins early on. What you need to see is your product market fit. What you need to focus on is there a larger TAM that you can go and acquire customers? What you need to focus on is, are existing customers of yours leaving you? I think that's a better metric rather than gross margins, right? See, if your company is at the size of $1 billion of revenue or 500 million or something like that, at this scale, I probably know that there are only 4 spends that you have in SaaS. All spends at SaaS is only 4. One is your COGS, which is the cost to run your product online. The other is your engineering cost or innovation cost, or your product team cost. The third is your marketing cost, marketing and GTM cost. The last cost is just your other cost, which you just plan for that you don't have planned for, be it legal and admin and a bunch of other stuff, right? There are only 4 costs in SaaS. At scale, your growth in marketing cost will be significantly higher, up much north of 50% of your overall spend, right? But you can focus on all that when you're probably at even $20 million or $10 million. You probably don't have to look at your gross margins when you're starting up. I'm assuming I answered your first 2 questions. What is the key metric which a founder of a SaaS startup should be keep on in mind? See, honestly, if you're starting out, if you don't have your first paying customers, product market validation, why now is a great question to answer when you're scaling businesses. So if you already have an answer of why you, because you've been the person in the problem, or you know the problem well, or whatever the reason is. The second is why you and why now, right? Which is, why are you building it now? Maybe because we are remote or whatever the reason is for whatever product that you're building it. Once you have answers to why you, why now, and the only thing that you should focus on is product market fit. Does customers really want your product? Now there, I can again talk about 2 things. You either build a Me Too product, which is, there are so many other websites like Pepperfry today online, right? As an example, just talking the B2C side of the world. Now you can just be a Me Too product in the market and build a market share game, which is you acquire a certain market share in that business. The second way is you build a category. I'm sure there are websites online which manufactures furniture is custom made. it's a category. It's a building a category, right? That's again to you, but I would say product market fit, validation that the market needs you, the market is ready to play, the price elasticity that you're playing in, and all that is a very very good thing to look at. Don't worry about gross margins.
Great. We have a couple of more questions. Actually, 2-3 more questions. The next one says, "Hello, are webinars a good way to sell healthcare products in India? What is your view about Clubhouse as a channel to reach customers?"
See, I'm assuming you're selling to India, and my answer will be based on that, right? Are webinars a great way to sell healthcare products in India? I think it can be. Basically, you need your webinars to be educational. You just want to ensure that there is value that you drive from the webinars. You don't want the webinar to be where you talk about your product all the time. People don't appreciate it. People don't enjoy it. As long as you are adding value in the webinar, I think it's a good starting conversation. Webinar by itself won't sell your product, but webinar is a starting point where you can educate something on the space that you're in. And eventually, maybe you can try to ask them saying, "Hey, after this webinar, would you be okay if I send you an email about the product that I have, if you're interested?" And if people are saying yes to it, why don't you go ahead and send an email, and they might, right? I think that's my answer to that. It can work or not work, depends on the strategy that you build. How about Clubhouse as a channel for each customers? Again, I don't know your persona, but rule of thumb, right? I think Clubhouse is today only available in Apple, and Apple is not the biggest market share in India. Android is, and unless Clubhouse is there on Android, and unless Clubhouse has a great traction in India, it might not be a great channel yet. But I love the possibility that Clubhouse brings in. There's plethora of knowledge there. I'm a great fan of it. But in India, I don't know yet. And for the product that you're selling, I don't know yet as well. I have no context.
Okay. Let's take a question from somebody else. It says, so Akshat Vyas says, "How can an early stage startup handle multi-business model with a single product? Example, for our product, we have direct sales, RAS, robot as a service, and AMC subscription." So, I'm guessing that there's just one product, but they're trying to sell it through different kind of business models.
See, I don't know if all these are your channels. Are these your different channels, or are these different products by itself? How does your early startup handle multi-business model of a singular product? Okay, so you basically have one product, but there are different channels, which is direct sales.
He's just put a continuation below. He's given some explanation.
Being in B2B, we are planning to attract our initial customers via performing and sharing case studies, free trials, and also awareness campaigns. What are your thoughts upon it? So I think great. Free trials, there's nothing like free trials. I use them all the time on any product that I'm trying to use before I buy, personally as a person and as a business leader. So yeah, free trials, awareness campaigns are a great idea. So your earlier questions on direct sales, RAS, AMC, see, I look at it as channels, right? For me, digital marketing is a channel, SDR is a channel, maybe reseller is a channel. For you, direct sale is a channel, RAS is a channel, AMC is a channel. As long as you know what you're doing on each of these channels, maybe you have leaders there, maybe you have reps there, maybe you have a working motion of how it works there. These are just channels into your sales. Eventually, when your business is a little sizable, you know which converts better and where you have a better ARPU, ARPA. You will know who are the guys who will stay with you longer by channel. Then you can make a investment on where should you double down your team, where should you double down your investments. But all of these are channels, and as long as you are segmenting them and keeping them separately, it should work.
Cool. There's one earlier question which says, "How has been your experience with Indian SMBs? How comfortable are they in paying recurring charges? As opposed to one."
Oh. So how's your business been in Indian SMBs? It's been fantastic, honestly, right? But that's also probably because we're an Indian startup. We started in India and built globally. So there is a lot of good karma around it, and there is a lot of looking up to Freshworks as a brand and all that. And of course, there is somewhere in the journey we have also kind of been amplified as a poster boy for B2B startup in India. And that kind of helps our brand and our reputation and all of that. So our business of working with SMB Indian businesses has been fantastic. We probably don't spend as much money as we spend in the US or Europe or any other Asian regions. They probably almost come free for us, which means our CAC on cost of acquisition of a customer on India as a market is extremely low. They stay with us longer. From a price point, India is a very different game, right? I think all of us work like banyas in our own ways, where we try to negotiate to the T, but it's okay as long as it still works. It's a fantastic business.
Cool. So I had one other question. There was an interesting point that you made about incentivizing revenue reviews. Getting good quality reviews coming your way. Is it just about reviews in the digital space? How do you get more detailed reviews from your existing customers? Reviews, references. How do you make that happen? Is there a model around that? Because I kind of believe that we know that reviews are what makes the difference for an average product and a great product on a marketplace like Amazon, for example. Great reviews push you up. Your search you turn up in search results pages 100 times more than somebody who has average reviews. So it makes all the difference. So how does that work in SaaS?
Right. See, in the B2C model of the world, especially in platforms like Amazon, you can probably even pay somebody and get a review there, right? Not a right review. It's a fake review and all of that. And somewhere it all boils down, and you will know that there is no enough merit to that user, and it'll be flagged or whatever. In the B2B side of the business, review can only happen from a user. And if you already know a user is very happy with your product, you can know that because somebody reached out to your support portal, and after the support rep is delighted the customer, there is a survey that goes out saying, how do you rate your support? Somebody says fantastic, which means you should go behind the person who says fantastic and ask for a review. That's the basic model there. It's a lot more complex. I think that by itself will take a lot of time for me, but you just want those right reviews to come for 2-3 reasons, right? One, somebody who's looking at purchasing your product sees that they are landing in the right company. That's point one. Point two is somebody who does not know what to buy lands on you because of great review. That's number two. Number three, and this is great, right? Somebody who is going and trying to say, hey, you know what? I don't like a product, sees that a lot of things have been solved in a very, very long time, even 10 years ago. And that kind of gives them the belief that they're coming to the right company in the right time, right? So I think, of course, the process is a lot more complex than what I said. I probably very rudimentized the entire process, but it's a fantastic avenue, not just for lead generation, but for keeping your existing customers or making sure you even build a significantly good brand.
Sounds great. Super. Okay, so one more question is coming up here. How do you see communication and collaboration solutions market growing in India?
How do you see communications and collaboration solution market growing in India? By communication and collaboration, I'm assuming you're talking about Slack or equivalent of that, or Microsoft Teams. See, I think there is a category by itself, right? And I have become a huge fan of that category personally, because we don't do business the same way we used to do about a year ago. Most businesses are working from home. Some of them are working partly from home and partly outside, depending on where you're living. So I think there's a lot of opportunity of how collaboration and communication happen within the company or even outside. There is video as a tech, there is chat as a tech, there is email, there is layers on all of these. There is verticalization by saying, hey, you know what, B2C can communicate this way, B2B can communicate this way, even in B2C, right? I think, again, if I should talk about Kashyap as an example, cart abandonment is a huge issue in e-commerce, right? So maybe there are communication channels and collaboration channels that's coming up in the way in B2C on how can communication and collaboration solve for cart abandonment, as an example, right? So I think the space is very, very new. It's getting deeper and deeper. Slack is the poster boy there. Microsoft Teams is the poster boy there of how communication collaboration happens. But there are great companies out there. Monday.com is a great company. One of my friends run this company in India called Rocket Lane. They're launching a product soon. I think phenomenal products are coming, and I'm very excited for this space. I think there is a lot of opportunity there.
Cool. There was one question slightly earlier which I skipped. It says, it's a little generic, but it says when to hire C-suites in a startup.
When the founder is ready to do something bigger. So, I said, go hire your VP of sales or your sales leader when you're not the best leader there, right? The same is the case when you know that you're not the best CRO or you're not the best CCO or the best CMO, you just need to get from outside. C-suite is titling it has been very, I'm not personally a fan of those, but if you have to call a CMO, I think it's better to get a CMO in when you know that your marketing leaders and marketing reps there can be efficiency in the system and you're not the best manager there. Call it a VP, call it a CXO. But I would say jumping into the C-suite sub of $10 odd million of revenue is hard for two reasons. I know it's a generic question, but I'm taking the liberty to say it a little more. See, if you're raising capital, you do your seed, you give about 20% of your equity to raise your seed round. You do the next round. Next round is when you want to build your business model and JTM team and everything else. If you're doing that, you're going to let go of 20 more percent, right? And with that 20 more percent, 40% of your company ownership is going to be outside by Series A, as an example. And with Series A, you're not going to be at, I don't know how new businesses and new evolutionary products are today, but if you're going to be at sub $2 or $3 million, which means $2 million of revenue, which means you have to project a forecasted revenue and raise capital a next round of Series B, right? At Series B or Series A, if you get a C-suite, there is a lot of equity dilution that will go into that leader as well. So again, this is very contextual. You probably need to look at your business, your fund, your management, but I would say sub $10 million might not be the right thing to do, generally as a rule of thumb.
No, that's a very interesting way to look at it. Very intuitive. I kind of agree with what you're saying, absolutely. So I guess we've been answering questions for the last half an hour or so. No more new questions have come up just now.
I think there was one in the Q&A.
Can you find it?
How to build KPIs and OKRs at early stage hard tech startup, which is planning to scale? What are the factors that should consider, and how we should proceed for product validation without disturbing cells as product needs continuous upgradation to meet market and customer demand? If the question is on how to build your KPIs and OKRs, okay, is it the same person, Pravina, who said the second one as well? No, I don't think so. Okay, so for that anonymous attendee's question on the OKRs and KPIs, see, there are only two ways to solve any problem. Again, I'm trying to rudimentize everything here. There are only two ways you solve marketing problem, sales problem, product problem, anything, right? The two ways are you either throw money at the problem or you throw people at the problem. There are only two ways. So, and that's your KPIs. If you have a marketer, is your marketer's job solving people or hiring and scaling people like SDR, or is the marketer's problem hiring and scaling digital marketing? If depending on that, you solve your KPIs and OKRs based on how do they spend money or how do they hire, as an example. Sales team is pretty similar as well. Sales leader, you want your KPIs to be hiring a bunch of sales guys, and then you can drizzle it down, right? Number of calls, number of emails, number of responses, number of open funnel, closed funnel, blah, blah, blah. I think as long as there is clarity on what you're probably doing, that's how you write your OKRs and KPIs. I probably don't have context over your without disturbing sales and product continuous upgradation. I probably don't have context over that. Happy to chat with you. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'll happy to chat with you if you think I can help.
Okay, so there's one more question here. I didn't realize there was a separate Q&A tab, but so this is from Pravina, which says that we are in a service sector and our venture is a platform for speech therapy. Parents of children with disabilities do not review us in public domain in spite of being happy clients. For obvious reasons, I guess. Any advice?
So first off, Pravina, I think you're doing a fantastic job in solving for people with disabilities. First off, kudos to you for taking something like this. I understand the problem, right? People will not review you in public because that exposes them. The best way I would share that is, see, why are reviews there is because people need validations. And why do they need validation? Because they want to build trust. And the simple formula that I would always have for trust is equal to experience plus expectations. And what you solve with testimonials is you preempt an experience. And that's what a testimonial is for. Even if you're not able to get testimonials, try to see if you can build case studies or try to build a bridge chat platform where you connect an existing user to a new user of yours instead of building a review platform. Or in fact, you can turn this around with privacy, and you can build a story around privacy and making sure their identity is not exposed by saying we don't have testimonials. You can probably play it to your advantage. This is the way I will look at it. But again, great job there. Extremely happy to hear you're taking a problem like this and solving.
It's great. I think we are actually getting pretty close to the end of our time. 70 seconds to go, and I don't see any more questions coming up. So Abhishek, I think great session. I think fantastic Q&A session to follow up with your journey story. I'm sure that the attendees have derived a lot from this. I think we are kind of recording this segment, and we'll be putting this up on the Clarion Call IIM Calcutta Alumni Association YouTube channel also. So people can actually, not just your PPT, but even the Q&A people can kind of listen to. So it'll be great beyond the people who were on the call today. I think many more people can see it over a period of time. So fantastic. I want to thank you on behalf of all the attendees and Clarion Call for taking this time out and conducting this fantastic masterclass for all of us. And all the best to all the attendees and to everybody on this call.
Thank you so much for having me, Kashyap, and congratulations everybody for thinking and having an entrepreneurial journey. I think India, by a country, needs so many more entrepreneurs. There is plethora of opportunities in India. You don't generally see things coming together where there is a country of population, there is a population of demand, and there is a population with intelligence as well. I think we are living in times where the opportunities are endless. First off, congratulations to all of you. Please feel free to reach out to me in LinkedIn if you feel I can help you in any way, and we'll be more than glad to do that. Again, thank you so much to the team and Kashyap for having me. It was lovely talking to you. As always, I'm a huge fan of Pepperfry.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Thanks. Thank you. Bye everybody.
Thank you. Bye everybody.